Hello, and welcome to another episode of Autodidactica. I
Hello.
am one half of your host, Matt Paul.
I'm the other half of your host, Glenn Clark.
Together we are Battlestar Galactica, and coming at you hot with another great topic this week. Last week was
Last week was epic.
Christianity, Satanism, and the ethics of their religions. And is religion more good or bad?
Right. Yeah, and we appreciate you if you managed to sit through that entire 3 hour episode, 3.5 hour episode. But it was good. I think it was worth it to get to the end. Like our conclusions even
The
surprised
end.
us. Right. The
Yeah,
end. Yeah.
yeah. The end where we continue the conversation for another 2.5 to 3 hours off camera,
Yeah, after
off
we stop
screen.
recording. We
Yeah.
just keep talking.
So karma.
Karma is
So
today.
we're still karma is today. Today is karma. Next week, we're actually skipping one topic and replacing it with another. We're just doing a little switcheroo because it flows so well. Next week
Mm,
will be the death penalty.
right.
Um, so yeah, we're just on a little bender here. You know, afterlife and suicide and
Defining
religion and
God and yeah, is religion good or
defining
bad?
God. You can tell that we are uh, former members of the church,
Right.
um, estranged members of the church.
Yeah.
Um,
Strange and estranged, but yeah.
quite so.
But it's
So
fun. It's
as
fun to wrestle with those topics, I think.
oh yeah,
It's
I feel like the unestranged should also wrestle with these topics.
right, right. I think if you're not wrestling with it, you're not doing it right. Regardless of
Absolutely.
what conclusions you've come to, I think everyone should be
Asking
turning it
big
over.
questions
Yeah, ask the big questions, look at it from different angles, listen to what other people have
and
to
just
say.
converse.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's very valuable.
So, in our usual fashion, what's new with you, Glenn?
What's new with me? Not much. I mean, it's 2023 all of a sudden. Like we had a big
All
New
of a
Year's
sudden,
party. It
that we
lasted
did.
about 2 days. Like I think people started getting there at 8:30. The last people finally left about 6 p.m. the next day. It was quite a we definitely rang in the new year. Um over here at the castle of Battlestar Galactica. But
Yeah,
yeah, like
it
we
was
had
great from what I remember.
from what you've been told, you were there.
Yeah, lights
Speaking
were
of
on, nobody
ringing in the
home.
new year, right? You may have had a couple of drinks. You may have
Just
done. I
a
don't.
few.
Oh well. Well, I mean, you had a good time. I promise. You
I had a
did.
great time. Yeah, from what I've been told, I had an amazing time.
uh Good times. I mean, that's really all that's new with me. Just kind of getting back in the routine. Like had Monday off of the day job. So it's still a 4 day week, but next week is the first real week, and then it's gonna be like that until probably 4th of July.
You don't get MLK Day?
I don't think we do, no. Um, that's still one of those things that's slowly becoming something that more and more people are getting the day off for. And I'm pretty sure we don't.
I always have
Yeah,
at my job. Bank holiday. We don't work on
right.
bank holidays.
Right. And that's a good policy. I think everyone should follow those guidelines. Um, because if people can't get to the bank, we might as well just shut down and go to
Yeah,
sleep, take a day
yeah.
off,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So what about
Thanks,
you?
MLK.
What's new with you?
I mean, you pretty much described it. I mean, I was there. I've been told at the New
You've
Year's
been told.
party. Um, is a good time with new friends and old.
Hmm.
Some newer friends and then some brand new friends, including the undetermined group
Right.
of people that just showed up.
Oh
I've been
yeah.
told,
Yeah, the
which I
people.
solved that mystery, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay. I was
after
wondering
asking around to everybody, I did solve the mystery of who was the random crowd of people that came through
at
at like
4:30 in the morning.
4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
Like, so they
uh,
did know someone.
they
That's
did know
they didn't just
somebody. Yeah,
see that there was a party going on and walk on in.
yeah, no. Um, but yeah, because it hasn't even been that long since we recorded the last episode.
Right.
Because we had some pushbacks on that, and so it's only been like 4 days since we recorded the
Oh, you're right.
the 3.5 hour epic.
Yeah, you're right. Because yeah, we had to keep rescheduling for various reasons
Yeah,
last week.
uh-huh,
We're like, well, we could do it tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow came. Well, we could do it tomorrow.
exactly.
We finally did.
Yeah,
See, that might be the problem. Like, if we wait too long, we just have too much to say. So it's gonna go 3.5 hours.
true. And we had a lot to say on that topic.
We really
It,
did.
it was sort of an area of expertise, you might
Right.
even say.
Yeah, it really was. I think for both of us, that
A
can,
lot of the stuff we talk about here, we have no idea what we're talking about.
right. We're trying to figure it out. We're sharing
We're
our
figuring it
wisdom
out.
and or foolishness. That's sort of our policy.
But
Um,
last week was all wisdom, very
Hopefully. I
minimal
mean,
foolishness.
I'm pretty there was probably some foolish. I don't know, but minimal, yeah. We like you said, we did come at it from a bit more expertise.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Um, so yeah, this week we're doing karma segue.
Karma.
Uh,
Good segue.
thank you. Uh, so just to kick it off, one of the things when I was approaching this topic was, I knew that my idea of karma was not actual karma.
Right, right.
The way we use it here in the West
Uh-huh.
is not what it actually is and was and is.
Hmm.
Um, and so I had to do a little brushing up on my social studies, my world religions,
Right.
because I knew it was of Hindi origin,
Uh-huh.
and I also found out that it is incorporated into several other South Asian
Hmm.
religions, including Buddhism and then some other lesser known religions that I'm definitely unaware of.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of them share an idea of karma.
Hmm.
So I figured I'd get a little bit into that here. Um, it was originally the word itself is Sanskrit, Sanskrit word meaning action,
Hmm.
uh, which makes sense. Sort of lends to my own perception of karma,
Uh-huh.
because I believe karma is even, yeah, it's a noun. I mean, right? Or it is a
Yeah, it's a
thing. Karma
noun, it's a
is a
thing,
thing,
right?
right? Um, so karma, in at least in the Hindu school of thought, is mostly linked to samsara. I
Mm.
don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I've seen that word before, but I've never actually said it aloud.
Right. I got a lot of
Um,
words like that. You learn it in a book. The book doesn't speak out loud
it
usually.
does not. Yeah, usually,
Mm.
depending on your state of mind. Um, so yeah, it mostly relates to or involves samsara, which is the wheel of life, the circle of life.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Reincarnation is big in the most prominent schools of thought in Hinduism,
right.
which is something that I had forgotten about how many different denominations of Hinduism there are.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Well, I'm not even
uh,
aware. I just
oh yeah, no, I was just doing some catching up, and in the most prominent one, karma is a
Mhm.
big deal. But in some other schools of thought, karma literally doesn't even matter.
Okay.
It's not even mentioned. Um, yeah, so karma is the accumulation of good deeds, essentially.
Okay.
The accumulations, there is no good karma and there's no bad karma. It's karma. You gain karma, and those are good deeds.
Okay.
Good deeds and intents.
Hmm.
Um, and that plays into your reincarnation. Um, and the final form of karma, after accumulating so much, is nirvana, which is
Yeah.
the release from the wheel of life.
Hmm.
You won life, essentially.
Yeah. So you get to retire your soul. They retire your spiritual jersey. They
Exactly.
you get to go into the light or
Yes.
whatever.
Whatever. I don't know enough about nirvana. I've
Uh-huh.
forgotten from my world religion studies. Um,
Yeah, I think
I
it's
learned
just, a state of perfection, a state of, perfect peace. I don't know.
that's my interpretation of it,
Uh-huh.
and I assume Kurt Cobain's as well.
Right, probably. That's what I was going for with the band. Um, and listeners, viewers on YouTube, we love to be corrected. So if we get anything wrong in this episode where we're coming at it from a position of pure ignorance almost, feel free to school us, and we'll acknowledge it in a future episode.
Absolutely. The other thing that I learned was that there are actually 3 different types of karma.
Oh,
I'm going to
interesting.
I'm going to butcher these.
But not on purpose.
Prarabdha,
Okay.
Samsita,
Hmm.
and Kriyamana.
I'm so glad
And
you had to read those.
they weren't too hard. Maybe a little. There were some little lines over some of the letters. I don't know what those
Hmm.
mean. But basically, those translate to present, uh, present, past, and future karma. So prarabdha is present, so it is karma that you will
Okay.
obtain in this lifetime. Samsita is latent karma, or karma that you have achieved from a previous life.
Okay. It rolls over.
And then kriyamana is karma that you will obtain in a future life.
Okay. Hmm.
Um,
So
I didn't. I
Kriyamana
have
is goals.
basically. Well,
Okay.
it's supposed to be. It's karma you have yet to obtain. So it didn't
Hmm.
necessarily say in this life or the future, a future
Right.
lifetime,
But it
but
could be both.
it could be both. But judging by how there's prarabdha, which is this life defined,
Hmm.
it almost seems like kriyamana is the
The
next life
future
and beyond.
life. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And I haven't done enough research into those. I just found it interesting that karma in the religious sense is actually broken up into
Hmm.
different types,
Yeah, that is interesting.
and does merit future research on my own part that
Oh,
I
for
don't
sure.
have for this podcast, because that's basically a religious study at that point. And
Yeah, definitely.
when we made this podcast, I really wasn't even thinking of the religious sense of karma. I really was. My intention was the Western connotation, as
Right.
I've called it, and so that pretty much wraps up what I know about religious karma. Do
Okay.
you have anything to add to that?
I really do not.
Okay.
Once you told me you looked it up, I was like, all right, then I don't have to. Because I intended
Right,
to look
right.
that up as well. I knew it wasn't exactly the way that we use it. I want to say colloquially. I'm pretty sure that word applies. Like,
Yeah, it definitely
Westerners.
does. I just can't say
Westerners.
that word.
Oh,
I just
yeah, it's
butcher
a
that word
tongue
every time I say it.
twister.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know the way that we use the term karma isn't accurate to its origins, but so it's like there's Eastern karma and there's Western karma. Western karma, we liked a word and we thought we might know kind of what it meant and ran with it
Ran with it, as
without
we do.
without checking ourselves. Yeah.
Manifest destiny.
So yeah, I
Um,
don't have anything to add.
okay, cool. So let me ask you, how would you define your karma? Like, what does karma mean to Glenn Clark?
Like how I would use the word,
Yeah, how you
or
would use the word.
um, I don't know. Like, okay, I kind of think of things um in terms of life is a school, like we're here to learn things, we're here to experience things, we're here to make mistakes as much as we are here to do good things, and make the world a better place. Um, and I kind of, in those terms, I think of karma in my ignorant Western way as being sort of like the energy you send out into the universe. Um, that the way that you treat others, and I think this is probably the close to the common way that we use that term in the West. It's like the things you do to others, be they good or bad, come back at you. Like if you do something, do someone a kindness, then a kindness will come back to you. If you are an asshole, then you're going to get that medicine back too, to learn from it. Like if you get your good energy back, you learn the value of the good energy you put out there. If you get your negative energy back, you learn the harm that you caused by putting negative energy out there in the first place. That it went out there, snowballed, came at you bigger than it was when you let it out. Um, and I think, like it's just a way to look at the school of life. And I've seen it play out that way. And that doesn't mean it necessarily actually works that way, or it's just, if you do a thing, you put ripples in the water. Like that thing has consequences. Things happen as a result of what you have done, regardless if it's good or bad, and you have to live in the world where you set those ripples in motion. So if you set good ripples in motion, then things are probably going to be a little bit better for you. If you set bad ripples in motion, things are going to suck because you're standing. It's like if you crap in your own bed, you have to sleep in it. But if you keep your sheets clean, you have a better, more restful time in your bed. Um, but I've done things where, like a prime example is my 8 years of youth ministry, where I didn't get a raise for years, and I was struggling to get by on $20,000 a year. But the work was so important to me, in working with youth and families, and just being there, being a part of their lives was so important to me that I stuck with it for almost a decade. And I always tell people, if it comes up, I feel like my true payment for that job didn't come until after it was gone. And just in the family that it gifted me, that so many of the youth that I worked with for years are still with me, like, and more than just around, you're one of them. Y'all are my actual family now. And that is the greatest reward I could ever, I never anticipated it. Like when I was doing youth ministry, my mindset was, I'm setting you all up to fly away from the nest and do your own thing. Like I'm so fortunate that so many of you built nests right near me, and that we're still in. You and I, we built this nest. We're bringing Chase into it, our other friend, next month. And it's just, to me, that's how I think of karma. That's like good energy coming back to me, like all those ripples that I put in the water that were just showing love. That was always my goal with youth ministry, was to model unconditional love. And I feel like I have an ocean of unconditional love around me now. I feel like all of these people who are in my life are modeling unconditional love in my life. So it's come back, it's one person putting it out there, and then it's all these people bringing it back to me. That's how I look at it. I hope you didn't want me to be succinct. I don't know how to do that. So
Yeah, well, as soon as I learn what that word means, I'll let you know. Um,
quick and to the point.
Gotcha. Noted.
What about you?
So yeah, your definition and outlook on it comes pretty close to my own, which
Uh-huh.
I knew it would.
Mm,
And so what I would have to say to that is, it seems like this Western view of karma, because I feel like yours and as well mine is very close to how other people perceive it and define
uh-huh.
it. And we have a phrase here, and I can't remember actually where the phrase came from, but the golden rule:
Oh yeah,
do unto others as you would
as
have
you would
them
have
do
them
unto
do
you.
unto you.
And so it comes pretty close to that. It's a sort of get what you give mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a bit of a subscriber to
Mm-hmm.
this thought process myself. Um, and like you, I've seen it pan out, and I've seen it work in
Yeah.
the way we all want it to work,
Uh-huh.
where good deeds are met with good deeds and bad deeds are met with bad deeds.
Right.
However,
Almost
it
like
doesn't always work that way.
right. It doesn't. Like,
You were
you
gonna
know,
say
the
something,
oh, just like it's kind of like heaven and hell. Just good
right?
deeds lead to reward, bad deeds lead to punishment. But yeah, then there's also the phrase no good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
And I feel like,
I,
oh, go on. I want to hear your whole
uh, and just sort of harkening back to the religious sense, one of the other things that I did read about was that in some schools of Hindi thought, karma can be manipulated by the divine as well. So, like a sort of forgiveness of sins, if you will.
uh
Um, so that's something to consider too whenever talking about, how sometimes it doesn't always work out. Some people may look at that as divine intervention.
uh-huh.
um, it could be, a sign from the divine
Right.
that, you put out good deeds but you receive nothing back. Could be a test of faith, or um, or the bad deeds go unpunished for so long,
Hmm.
and it's a yet another test of faith, something along those lines.
Right.
Now, I'm not a particular subscriber to that. I just think that this is a really nice thought process
Yeah.
that, can drive people to become better people.
Hmm.
Um, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the bad guys will get caught and punished and
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
redeemed.
Yeah. Sometimes the bad guys just get away with being bad guys their whole life. And sometimes the good guys suffer their whole lives. Like, I mean, back to 8 years of youth ministry, like the thought in my head for most of that decade was no good deed goes unpunished. So like it was a rough time. Um, so no good like payback came really well, some did, a lot did, but like the big payback didn't come
there
until
was
after
there was
that
no
job was over.
instant payback.
Right, exactly. Like every time I did something,
Without really digging for it.
yeah, yeah, like I'd stick my neck out to do what I would perceive as the right thing, and I would often get in trouble for it and
Right,
have to,
like using budget for
right,
not necessarily budget purposes, but, to put
right,
food on the plate of a starving child
yes,
in the youth program.
yeah,
That's
that
not
kind
really
of
what it's
thing.
there for, but
But I made it
that's what
be
it
there for that. Like that's
exactly.
because I'm like it's my budget. I will do with it as I see fit to minister to youth.
Yeah, this boy needs to eat.
Right, exactly. Or somebody needed medicine, and
Right.
yeah, just there was all kinds of stuff like that. But um yeah, and I was met with a lot of criticism, like people saying, don't get so involved, don't get so attached. Two of the people who are two of my closest friends now, I was told in no uncertain terms, don't waste your time with them. And I'm like, all right, I'll ignore you now. Goodbye. Just nod my head till you go away. Those are the people who need attention the most. So no regrets. It all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Oh,
When it comes to this whole uh, karma idea, a lot of what comes to mind for me is sort of a good versus evil
yeah.
sort of parallel, I
Hmm.
guess,
Hmm.
which is not how it was defined originally, but
Uh-huh.
that is how the word is thrown around. I mentioned a second ago, in the religious sense, there's no good or bad karma,
Right.
but we use it that way all the time. You know,
Right. Yeah. To us, there is
he
bad
cheated on
karma.
his spouse. He just acquired some bad karma.
Right. Doo-doo's gonna come to his head out of the sky. It's kind of like that video game. Well, I mean, several video games have done it since, but I think the first to do it was Fable, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
Where,
yes, the morality spectrum.
yeah, yeah, it's like good deeds and bad deeds get you on different paths, kind
Mm-hmm.
of. They change the
Love games
outcome. I do too. Oh, but go on. What were you gonna
like
say?
that. I was just starting the next conversation. Just sort of a good versus evil thing, because
Yeah.
that's what I always think about is some examples of bad deeds, because those are the most prominent ones. You
Right.
know, a lot of people don't get too hung up on putting out good energy and not feeling like they got a lot back.
Hmm.
More people I would say, get hung up on bad people out there that just never seem to get what's coming to them.
Right. Which, yeah, I mean, last several years in the United States has been a study in that pretty much. Like, are the bad guys gonna get theirs? Are they ever going to be held accountable? It's like we're watching criminals get away with everything, left and right, in politics,
And corporations.
and corporations, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
to call someone out by name, I mean, like the Walt Disney Company just keeps buying other companies. And there was a day when the law against monopolies was actually enforced by Congress. Like I remember when I was a really little kid and they broke up Southwestern Bell and turned it into two or three different phone companies so there would be competition in the market. But nobody is doing anything about this. Like it just keeps getting worse. Like corporations are gaining too much power. Competition is being strangled. The middle class is being strangled. Just it's a weird time for the economy. And it's been going on so long that one begins to wonder if anyone in power even realizes that something wrong is going on there, that something needs to be corrected before the whole system implodes. Because
Absolutely.
yeah, nobody's being held accountable. It's like the law does not apply to you if you are wealthy, especially if you're a corporation. They've codified that. Corporations are people if it helps them to get away with something, like doing something that a corporation shouldn't be able to do, like give big giant amounts of money to a political candidate. But they're not people if it comes to any other crimes they commit. Like
Right.
Is Hershey going to prison for slave labor? The whole
Nope.
company, because corporations are people, shouldn't we lock up everyone who works for them? But no, they're like, oh, well, by this year, we will have mostly phased out slaves from other countries. Like they're using slave labor in other countries. Sometimes they do get paid the equivalent of 25 US cents a day, a quarter, which isn't payment. Um, it's just so that they can technically say these people are being paid. But they're allowed to get away with it as long because people like their Hershey bars. People like their M&Ms. Is that
And they like to
Hershey?
pay, yeah, that's Hershey, and they like to pay no more than $1.
Right.
Actually,
Right.
M&M might be Mars. Actually,
It might be. I don't know that it's Hershey, but chocolate, people want their chocolate.
yep. And they don't want to pay too much.
Uh-huh. So we just those people who learn about it. It's the same with the meat industry, that people don't want to hear it. They do not want to know how bad it is, how bad they do not want to see chickens that are injected with, mad scientist serums to make them so fat that they can't walk ever. Chickens who never see the light of day in their entire life. They're just blobs of fat that are fed in a dark room. It's horrible, so that
Yeah,
KFC can have some big fat chickens. They don't want to see the cows with a hole cut in their side that they just put food in their stomach, don't even get to eat. They stand hip deep in their own crap their whole life. They don't want to hear it. So we turn a blind eye. And these companies are getting away with atrocities: human slavery, child labor, animal
animal abuse.
cruelty, like,
Yeah,
yeah, just unfathomable cruelty to animals. But it's a lot because people want their candy bars, they want their Disney Plus. They don't want to think about the evil, so the bad guys are getting away with it. Where is that Western karma? Where is
yeah.
the when is the arrow of evil they shot out into the world going to boomerang back at them? We're waiting for
Where's
it.
the retribution?
Exactly. These people have earned hell. Why aren't they going
Right.
there? Why are they going to heaven instead? And we're in hell.
Yeah, that's a capitalist society for you. Not very kind to the school of thought of karma.
Right. Right.
They're able to buy karma
Uh-huh.
essentially.
Pretty much. Yeah, they buy indulgences like the old
Yeah,
Catholic Church before the Reformation, before Martin Luther. And the golden rule, I think, is from the Gospel of Luke, by the way.
I think I think you're right. I thought it was from the Bible.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's just something that's always been said to me ever since I was a kid,
Right.
and I did a pretty decent job
Hmm.
of of that whole thing.
I think so. I think you're golden. Good job.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. No, and because like I've always I've seen it work for me, not in any massive ways or anything like that.
Right.
Like I but yeah, I think that if you're a kind person, you'll be treated with kindness.
Hmm.
And the Satanist in me says to only be kind to the right people.
Right. People
Basically,
who deserve it.
right, and like and then stop being kind to the people that just refuse to be kind. And so basically, I dish out karma on my own.
Uh-huh.
You know, quick to
Right.
judge. The quality of a person's character, and quick to cease any kindnesses towards them if they are undeserving.
Hmm.
Uh, like I'll give it like the whole thing of I'll try anything once. Well, I'll be nice to anybody once,
Right.
and if it worked out okay, then okay, I'll do it again.
Hmm.
But like if it has just never worked out, and
Yeah,
this
if these
person
people,
continues to be an ass, then I'm gonna stop.
right.
Like I won't necessarily treat you poorly after
Right.
that, but I will do my best to stop associating with you altogether.
Right. And you won't put any effort into, you won't go the extra mile to be nice to those people.
And simultaneously, I won't go the extra mile to be mean to them.
Right. Right. You just kind of won't bother with them. Like people who are buttholes. Like I'm the same. I just
Right.
would rather avoid people who cause me distress or upset and irritate me. I would rather just walk away.
Right. It's sort of the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference.
Right, true.
And you know,
Agreed.
if somebody doesn't love you, more than likely they don't
They're
care
Yeah, they don't have
either
the
way.
energy. They don't put the energy into hating you. They just
Right.
don't think about you. I
Which is proper.
agree. That's the way to do it. Hatred is a waste of energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm not going to necessarily put get myself some bad karma. I
Uh-huh.
don't think that I've acquired too much of that in my lifetime. Sure, I've
Right.
done some things, but usually I quickly learn from them.
Hmm.
You know,
Well, because it
I
does
can't
come back,
really.
like just natural consequences.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Natural consequences, because that immediate retribution
Hmm.
is often the case. Like especially if you did anything like if you made poor choices in school,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
lot of times you were caught instantly
Hmm.
and punished because of it.
Yup.
It was swift and an absolute,
Uh-huh.
and depending on the events and the age range,
Right.
because my worst misdeeds were all in elementary school, where like I just didn't understand like the lines between good and evil when you're 8 years old are very very blurry.
Right.
You don't realize the impact of your words and your actions on other
Hmm.
people when you're that young.
Yeah.
Because one of my biggest funny stories from that time period of my life, but big learning experience for me was hate is a very strong word
A very
when you
strong
use it
word.
against,
You
yeah,
kind
in
of
first
broke up.
grade when you tell
Ah,
somebody
yeah.
that you
Yeah.
hate them.
Hmm.
um it's kind of a big deal to that person,
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
you didn't really mean it. But yeah, I told some kid, me and my friend Chris thought it would be hilarious on Valentine's Day. This kid was handing out handwritten notes, and he wrote just a simple. He was a little bit of a weird kid, probably ate glue at recess, and
Yeah.
uh, he wrote just a simple on notebook paper, scraps, "I love you."
Yeah. That's
And me and Chris
nice.
thought it would be hilarious to write, "I hate you." Obviously not signing our names, but and then we put it in there. Uh,
Aw.
and so yeah, he pulled that out, started crying,
Aw.
and we thought it was hilarious,
Right,
but we
because
were
you're eight.
quickly, because we're eight, um, and my teacher, who I respected very much, was not pleased at that
Hmm.
and asked for whoever did it. And me and Chris just instantly just put our hands up. We did it.
Right.
We're really sorry. And it's also, so it was a learning experience for me. I learned a lot right then and there because I felt
Uh-huh.
like crap as soon as I had been called out for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I learned the power that your words can have on another person, especially at the point in time where they really do not want to hear them,
Right.
and you
Nobody
didn't
wants to
even
hear
mean
that.
them.
Right.
Like it was a cruel joke, and
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, little kids have much more literal minds.
right,
So they pull "I hate you" from two "I hate yous" out of their bag when they've been telling everyone "I love you." That can be devastating to a literal mind. I am a hated kid. It's not just one, it's two people who hate me in here.
right. And funnily enough, we also gave him our little Walgreens Valentine card that had the sucker on it because we did that
Yeah,
first.
right.
Went around and put our little Valentines in everybody's bags.
Uh-huh.
And so we did both. We just thought it'd be also funny to just like, we're like, we understand opposites.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, so learned a lesson that day. And so
Mhm.
like, a lot of it was in elementary school. If I did anything bad, it was then, and it wasn't a lot. That
Right.
was first grade, and I learned, for one thing, I don't like being scolded.
Right. No one
Um,
does.
and so I learned to keep under the radar from then on out, essentially. And if I was going to harm anyone, it would just be me,
Yeah.
like, not doing my homework and getting in trouble or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, because he loved me, and I told him I hate him, and it wasn't very nice
Right.
of me.
Yeah, but I mean, you're supposed to be learning, especially when you're a little kid. You're not just learning like spiritual and philosophical things. You're learning how to navigate this world as a little kid. You're learning about other people's emotions and how you impact people. So you did learn. But again, that
Absolutely.
it boomerang right back to you. It made you feel bad. That you
Right.
made someone else feel bad. You got that back.
Oh,
And you
and I missed
carry it with you
recess.
to this day. Like you still are
Yeah.
telling that story.
Yeah.
You
No,
learned
because
a
that.
life lesson. And hopefully that kid
Oh
grew up
yeah.
to be surrounded with love. But
Hopefully he stopped eating glue. Um.
hopefully it didn't start sniffing it because of you. But
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
kidding. I'm sure he did.
Well, I wonder. I don't even remember the kid's name. So
He's listening to
hopefully
this and now he's deaf. He doesn't even remember my
he doesn't even remember.
name. You just keep making it worse.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because yeah, I can't think of any like misdeeds that I've really done in this lifetime to where I've gotten them back. That's another thing that I wanted to mention on you. I'm not really a huge believer in reincarnation
Right.
or anything, but that is something that's often said. Like when stuff, like really good stuff happens to you, but like
Ah,
nobody can think of any great things that you've done in your life to deserve it. People are like, you must have been a saint in your previous life, or something like that, or you must have saved the world, or you
right.
know,
Or it's
and uh, and then the opposite as well.
right, right. And I think, some of that, or it's like you're doing crappy things. Well, in your next life, you're going to come back as a cockroach. I think that's kind of another area of Western misunderstanding of karma where we think we're being more understanding because we attribute it to um cyclical reincarnation, but we
Right,
don't really look at it the way that it's meant to be looked at, karma.
right. Yeah, no, because then the opposite of that is not necessarily you're doing bad things, and
Uh
it's more like you're generally considered a good person, but bad things keep happening to you, and they're like, wow, you must have been an asshole in your last life.
right. Yeah, what are you being punished for? um
Right,
Thinking like that, actually you find it in, again, going back to our first language when talking about spiritual things, which is Christianity. The book of Job has a lot of that. Like the old belief in that time was that if you have a disease, you clearly did something bad, not in a past life, but in this one, you have sinned. And so you're being cosmically punished. That's why all this
lepers.
crap is happening to you. You need to pray for forgiveness or confess what you did. And Job's like, I didn't do anything. Crap just keeps happening to me. Um, and I mean, that's kind of, like if you have a disabled child, then everyone's like, God is punishing you for something. You need to fess up. You need to make amends. Where, we don't look at it that way today, but that is a way that, even in other religions that, um, yeah, like that kind of thing, you reap what you sow, pretty
Right,
much, is the way that we look at karma. And it's prevalent all over the place, that kind of thinking. Like if you're getting crapped on by the universe, you clearly did something to deserve it, or it wouldn't be happening to you. It's even how like rich people tend to look at poor people. It's
They
like
don't
poor
work hard
people,
enough.
right? Poor people are poor because they're lazy. It's their fault. They've done something wrong. Um, Whereas it's just a matter of not being born with a silver spoon in your mouth and not having everything handed to you. Like they
Yeah.
have no clue,
Well,
but
yeah, wealth
that's the
hoarding, ruining
thinking.
the economy.
Right. And they think we have this wealth and therefore we deserve this wealth. Like the thinking is whatever situation you find yourself in the world, people are prone to think you deserve it. Whatever you're
Right.
going through, if good things are happening to you, you must have earned it. If bad things are happening to you, you must have earned it. It must be your fault. Um, so I think that's why it
Yeah.
simplifies things.
Nothing is circumstantial. Like
Right.
it is all, on a spectrum of deserved or undeserved, or
Right.
all on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's lazy, but there's a lot of stuff that human brains do that are lazy because
We want the
it's
answer
like,
now.
yeah, we want to quickly make assessments and decisions. That's how our brains operate. So, that's why we will fill in the gaps. If we don't have information, we'll create our own story.
Right.
Well,
All homeless panderers are all drug addicts, and
all of them. Yeah, that's what.
they ended up there on their own.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but yeah, all panhandlers are just, yeah, drug dealers and
Uh-huh.
homeless, or drug abusers, homeless, and it's all their fault.
Right. All
So
their
they get
fault.
none of my hard-earned cash.
Right. And it's a way of absolving yourself and saying, well, they did this to themselves. It's not my problem. I don't have any obligation to help them. I mean, so it's you trying to make yourself not feel as bad about just walking past a person, avoiding eye contact with a homeless person, which people do. You do because I'll do it. I don't have money.
I don't have money.
Like,
Yeah.
um, like I don't have cash on me at any time normally. Like it's very rare that I have cash on me to even hand to somebody. And if I do,
I'm
you know,
usually pretty liberal with it when I do have cash.
same. And it's like I will give someone some money and decide it's their money now. It is up to them whether they spend it on food or drugs. It's not, I let it go. Um, or I'll do the test. Like I taught one of the teenagers this once, and I remember just it opened his eyes. And this probably goes in the wrong direction from where we want to go because it was proven that this particular homeless person, like, so what I did was I was like, here, you give them the drug test. Because we had homeless people walk into the church when we were doing youth program one night. And that's when I taught them this. They're like, we need money for this, for that, because we're hungry. We need food. And it's like, well, we're having a big dinner here. Would you like to eat with us? And they're like, no, we have a very particular diet. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
right, all right, so you just
Vegan homeless
failed
people.
the drug test. I'm not gonna hand you money to go get drugs when you're saying you need food and we have food. Um, but he did that one day. This one youth who was paying attention did that at 7-Eleven and got shot down for getting this guy food. And he was so upset by it. Like it was a disillusioning for him. But it's true, like, and they're not all like, because I do that a lot of times and they accept what I offer them. Like, oh, your
Oh yeah.
car is out of gas. Where is your car? Like I will buy you gas directly rather than handing you money. And a lot of people were grateful for the gas and they did have a broken down car, like, so it's worth it, but it's
That
not
one's big time and
universal.
place for me. That
Yeah.
one is big time and place for me,
Mm-hmm.
because there have been some situations where I've been asked to buy some gas for somebody,
Yeah.
and I look around at the area that I'm
Oh
in,
yeah.
and I'm just like, sorry, I'm broke, and then I drive away in my fully gassed up car.
Right. And that's, you have to make a judgment call regarding your personal safety as well. That's not
Absolutely.
like, I don't think that's making an evil choice, I don't, I think that's making a wise choice. And because yeah, sometimes things are shady, and that's something humans have. We sense things. When something's not right, we pretty much know it.
Right.
Like we sense danger like any other animal.
Yeah.
So yeah, like if your gut is telling you get out of here, get out of there.
Yeah. But yeah, I've stopped and, helped a guy push a car.
Uh-huh.
I've seen a guy trying to push his car by himself to a gas
Right.
station,
Oh, I've done that too.
pull over and help him push. And be like, I'll push, you steer. Because it's hard to push your own car
It
and
is
steer
so
it.
hard. Yeah, I've been there.
Um, especially depending on the size of the vehicle. The one or two times that I've ended up doing that, they were both little four doors. But
Right.
you know, yeah,
But
just to piggyback off that example that you gave of the drug test
yeah,
for homeless or panhandlers.
right.
Um, there was when I was back in college going to Richland over here
Uh-huh.
in Dallas. There'd be the same dreadheaded uh, panhandler out there off 635 every single day that I went to school, and I brought him a sandwich and a water
Mm-hmm.
every day. I went up there, and
Nice.
the man was always grateful for it.
Uh-huh.
And I on days that it was raining, I felt bad for him because he wasn't out there,
Right.
like he was taking shelter somewhere. But yeah, he would never turn me down. I'd roll down the window,
Mm-hmm.
give him his stuff, say, have a good day, and go
Uh-huh.
about my day.
Yeah, and that guy was
And
actually hungry and you were
right,
feeding him.
right.
Um,
You know, I just kept a case of water in the car.
yeah.
And, because sometimes there'd be others there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hand a bunch of waters out the ball or out the car window and
Yeah.
like, here you go, everybody. And yeah, I felt like
Uh-huh.
Jesus. It was cool. Um,
Right. Oh,
and then there's been one other big one for me, which is again I was walking the streets of Houston,
mm,
and um, it was a it was during the day downtown Houston.
right.
So again, time and place. Yes, I'm in an unfamiliar area, but
Mm-hmm.
it's broad daylight, and there is the public all around me. And
Right.
there was a guy outside of McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just like, "Hey man, you got a couple bucks? I'm really hungry." And I was just like, I don't have any money on me, but we can go in there and get you something.
Right.
And I hadn't eaten yet,
Uh-huh.
and I went in there and had breakfast with Scrappy, was his name.
Nice.
Just and they tried to tell me to get lost, like he can't be in here.
Oh no. Okay, when you're done, I have a story. Go on.
And I was like, what are you talking about? This is my brother.
Right.
Scrappy was a black man. And
He's adopted. Or like
yeah, I was like, you can't see the resemblance?
uh-huh.
And I was like, this is my brother, what's your name? And he's like, Scrappy. And yeah, we sat down, I heard his whole story, and
Uh-huh.
then
Uh-huh.
it was like, well, I gotta get to my family. They're calling for me. And so I went about my day.
Yeah.
And he passed. You know,
Yeah.
I bought him a breakfast and then a couple hamburgers to go on top of it for later.
Yeah. He passed the drug test. Man was hungry.
Right.
And but they didn't want to serve him. Like, because again, it's that mindset of he deserves it. He doesn't deserve to be in here. He can't afford his own
Right.
food, even though, you can go in there and buy lunch for your friend any
Right.
day, like, and no one's going to question it if he doesn't look homeless, if he isn't someone they've seen on the street. And I had a similar thing um at 7-Eleven over by our friend Nick Smith's house. Available Nick. He I went in that 7-Eleven and there was a guy standing outside who just asked me if I could please buy him a pack of cigarettes when I went in there. Um, and so I did. I didn't know what he wanted, so I was like, well, come in with me and show me. I don't know how to buy cigarettes. So went in there and they did not want to sell me cigarettes because they knew I was buying them for him. And that didn't make any sense to me. Finally, I was like, I am buying these cigarettes. Please give me the cigarettes. And the lady gave me the most disgusted look that any cashier has ever given me, and very begrudgingly handed over the cigarettes. And I handed them over to the man, who was very grateful, because I'm just thinking, this dude has it hard enough. Let him have a smoke. Why is that wrong? He didn't lie to me about what he wanted. He was like, I need some cigarettes. And I got him some cigarettes. And the people in 7-Eleven did not think that he was deserving of those cigarettes because he couldn't afford them himself.
Now, the only caveat to that is, because that's bullshit, but the only caveat to that is that he didn't have an ID.
Well, he was very old. He was an old homeless man.
Right. But TABC does not care. That's just one angle. So basically they were being assholes, but they were also protected by law to be it.
Right.
Because even when I go to buy alcohol, if I'm buying alcohol and back in the day when I was living with my little brother, he was underage. He was only 17. And we would go grocery shopping together. Yeah. And there were a few times that I caught lip from cashiers because I was buying my 6-pack, me, a 23-year-old, him, or me, I was, 22 and he was 18, but I have my little brother with me.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that was basically all we were buying. Yeah. Maybe, I was just picking some things up and he was just maybe picking some things up. We're in self-checkout and I'm buying beer and they're like, where's his ID? I was like, oh, that's just my little brother. Those aren't for him. Yeah. And they'd be like, well, if he's here with you and y'all are buying alcohol, he has to have an ID too.
Well, see, I don't know. I don't know if that is in fact the law, because how could it be? My dad, I used to go to the liquor store with my dad when I was a little kid all the time, and they didn't give him crap because,
as long as it's your child.
Well, yeah, so I guess tell him he's your kid next time. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, right.
Well, this is my son. The cigarettes are for me. Yeah, I don't know how to buy them, but they're totally for me.
I just picked him up from daycare. This 60-year-old man.
He has progeria. He's not well.
He's only 9.
He's 9. He's had a rough life, and our washer and dryer broke. I mean, but no, that's a good point. It probably was at least partially a legal thing, but
it was
2 adults, and the
not.
dude's clearly older than I am.
Right.
So
there used to be a guy down off of Centerville in 635 that had a sign that said, "God said not to lie. All I want is a beer."
Right.
And
and I respect that.
My mom bought him several beers. She would, when she's out getting her beers, she'd get one for him.
Right. Well, because she feels empathy for the guy, I mean, that's what I'm just what I was saying. These people have hard lives. Let them have a drink. Let them have a smoke.
Let them have a crack rock.
If they go get stuff that just jacks up your life, a beer isn't gonna keep you homeless. A cigarette isn't gonna keep you homeless. If anything, if you're a smoker, I would think having a cigarette will give you some clarity of mind, give you a little bit of peace to think about other ways to get out of your situation, if there are any. Because, I mean, that's the other thing, people won't. People are, well, you just need to get a job. All right, this guy walks into, where you give him an application, 7-Eleven, will you
Right.
Give this guy an interview, this guy who hasn't had a bath in several months, who, because he can't afford to go anywhere to
Lodging.
get clean. Like, yeah, like, are you going to give him a chance? No, you're not going to give him a chance. So stop blaming him for what, it's who knows how
His
someone gets to
circumstances.
the bottom, but once you get there, no one wants to let you back up, no matter how hard you're trying. Society has decided you deserve to be at the bottom, otherwise you wouldn't be there. And that's something that really bothers me about the world we live in. Um, and that I was acutely aware of over the past year when I was spiraling ever closer to the bottom myself. Like, I almost lost everything last year. And I was acutely aware that if I hit the bottom, society is not going to let me get back up. No one's going to want to give me a job. If you don't have an
Right.
address,
Nobody
a
gives you
home
a home
address,
loan.
nobody will give you anything. It's like, what? You don't have a phone, you can't work for us. You don't have a car, you don't have a house or an apartment, you don't, it's scary. We blame these people as a society for their own situations, but we're unwilling when they are willing, when they demonstrate a willingness to climb back up and get a job and get their lives together. Society in general says, too bad, we don't like you, deserve to be homeless. Stay down, stay down. Um, Tap out.
Yeah. Just
Um,
give up.
right. And
Yeah.
meanwhile,
And
you got the rich people born with a silver spoon in their mouth saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps like I did when I was born rich.
yeah.
Like, but when they try to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, you take their boots away and say, you
Yeah.
don't deserve these, you're poor. It's
Yeah.
like,
I
you want
only
help, you
got a
have boots. Yeah.
It's like I had it hard. I only got a $5 million loan from my dad when I
Right.
graduated college.
Right. A
Like,
small loan.
yeah,
Millions of
I had to
dollars.
repay that loan.
Yeah.
After I started, $30 million businesses.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's not a very golden rule society we live in.
It's really not. But, if people don't like what you're doing, they'll quote you the golden rule.
Oh
But
yeah,
but it only applies one way. Like, that's how it seems. Like, it doesn't apply to them if they're being jerks.
right.
Only if they
And
perceive you as being a jerk.
because the satanic, opponent to the golden rule is not, they just changed the wording just ever so slightly to give it a
Uh-huh.
completely different meaning, which is, the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and then
Mm-hmm.
a Satanist would say, do unto the others as they do unto you,
Mm-hmm.
and a
Yeah, an
very
eye for an eye, pretty
an eye for
much.
an eye, and there's a couple
The
sayings about that.
Hammurabi Code, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and all that. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, leaving the whole world blind, but you
Right,
know,
right, exactly. You
yeah,
leave the whole
vengeance is a
world blind.
cycle.
Uh-huh.
You know, he who seeks revenge should dig two graves. And,
Yes. That's
you know,
from Bakemonogatari.
that's not from that.
It's
That's a
not. Well,
very
that's where I
old.
heard it. That's where I heard
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
That's an old. How do you call it?
When you curse someone, dig two graves.
Yeah,
That's what it was. I loved that line. I guess I'd never heard it before Bakemonogatari.
which is surprising because
Yeah.
I I guess it's used a lot in the shonen animes and stuff like that.
Okay.
Basically the whole idea, because it's not a new idea that revenge is bad
Right.
because,
Well, because
but I
it
have
just
heard that phrase. It creates a
perpetuates
cycle.
the cycle. And like, even in that story arc in that manga slash anime, it was
That
all
was
about,
basically about karma, Western
exactly, it
karma.
was about the energy you put out coming back to you and being bigger than you can deal with.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, when you curse someone, dig 2 graves because it's coming right back at you.
Yeah. Such a
Um,
good show.
I agree.
A little weird here and there, but that's
Yeah,
what
but
makes it
I
such a good
I
show.
love the weirdness.
Yeah, I never been able to brush my teeth the same way.
For real. Y'all want to catch that reference? Check out the anime Bakemonogatari.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was actually like the second season,
I
like
think it
Misa
was.
Monogatari.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's
but
same franchise.
the
It's
Monogatari series
yeah. Yeah.
available on Crunchyroll. Enjoy. Um, Lots of little fables in that because it almost is an anthology.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
all just happen to be written by the same person,
Right, with the same characters and
same characters.
yeah, but
Very confusing timeline.
very. Like, well, what do you think about um karma in general? Like the idea, like the original version of karma. Like, do you personally give it any credence? Like the idea that there's almost like a merit system, a point system? Like, I'm still not entirely clear
Right.
on how
Based
it
on my
works.
limited knowledge, for one, I would have to believe in reincarnation,
Right.
because that's where it plays into. Karma is
Uh-huh.
the main factor in samsara, um, and I like it. I mean, that's all I can say. It's not that I adhere to
Uh-huh.
it,
Yeah.
um, but I do like the idea that, for one, there is no bad karma or good karma. Karma is karma, and
Right.
it is action. It is good. It is, the point system, as you put it,
Hmm.
of getting to the next stage of your soul's, you know, just getting closer to nirvana.
Right.
Um,
Hmm. And
and
oh, go
no, go
on.
ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, George Lucas based the philosophies of Star Wars largely on Eastern religions. Well, all religions. Like that's he kind of looked at all religions and was like, they're all kind of saying the same thing. So what if you took all that and put it into this fictional, like the Force and the Jedi and all of
Yeah,
that?
I almost made a Star Wars reference when we were
Really?
talking about good and evil, because
Yeah,
it's very, and it's also very, it's energy based. The religion in
right.
Star Wars is energy based.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
Force
the
is
Force.
the breath of all things living and non-living.
Right. Yeah.
It flows
Life
through it all.
creates it, makes it grow, all of that. Like, and then it's the fact that it's kind of like actual karma. At least, whatever Disney does with it moving forward, the original intent was the bad guys can't become force ghosts, and that's why they cling to life so strong because there's nothing for them beyond the physical. Um, in good guys, it's like you have to have special training, but it's like if you're at peace and harmony with the universe, if you're already kind of one with the living force or whatever, you can basically become immortal. Like that's what a force ghost is. Like the good guys die and their journey isn't over. Like there's that good energy perpetuates their existence even when they don't even need their bodies anymore because they're so in tune with this energy, the force. Whereas if you don't do the good things, you aren't punished per se. Again, there are natural consequences. Like if you rule the galaxy for 24 years with an iron fist and you're a tyrant, there's a rebellion is a natural consequence. But like as far as spiritual consequences, there aren't any. There aren't any, but there are spiritual rewards. It's like there's a point system. Um, So I just think that's interesting
Yeah, and
because
then sort of like 'cause one of the things that I wrote down, I said I was out of bullet points, but I guess this deserves more talking.
Mhm.
Because I wrote down good versus evil.
Yeah,
Just the and then the balance between them. That's sort of what the Force is all about
right.
in Star Wars. It's all about the balance between the two.
Uh-huh.
There was an imbalance at the start of the Phantom Menace, and so the Metachlorians create Anakin Skywalker, aka one of the
Right.
worst menaces to the galaxy that it has ever seen. Because that's what people failed to realize when they watch Star Wars is that Anakin did bring balance to the Force because
He did.
they're it just
But
not in the way that the Jedi thought he would. Because the
uh-huh.
Jedi were perpetual. The Republic was on top. There
Hmm.
were thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Jedi roaming around the galaxy being ministers of peace.
Yeah.
And so there was imbalance. There was
Yeah.
too much good
Yeah.
happening.
Thousands of Jedi, two Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
And so the Metachlorians were like, hey, let's make evil Messiah baby.
uh-huh.
And let's trick the Jedi into making them think.
Uh-huh.
And let's place him in an outer rim colony where he won't ever be found until it's too late to train him up from a child.
Right. Yeah.
And I saw a fan theory recently talking about how if Anakin was the balancing of good and evil with the introduction of pure evil, essentially, in
Uh-huh.
Darth Vader, then simultaneously they were using some very loose dating, but they were saying that the child was born at
Oh,
the same time as Anakin.
Grogu. No, he was. That's
And
true.
yeah, and so a popular fan theory is that good and evil were formed in the
Hmm.
same at the same moment, were
Right.
introduced. And
Interesting.
I like that
I
as
love
well.
that. I can't wait for, we have this topic on our agenda, don't we? Star Wars and
Yeah,
spirituality or something like
so
that. We
let's
do.
slow it down.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should.
let's
Yeah, because we're gonna come back to this late in our planned year. I think it's
yeah.
later. Like it might be the last one on the list.
It's the last one on the list.
It's our season finale. It's Star Wars
And that will
and
be a
spirituality.
4 hour
Possibly, who
podcast.
knows? Who knows?
We'll do a
If it is,
24-hour
it'll
podcast.
be worth it. Dude, we could.
We could.
Like if we ever do that, there should be something like we should be raising money for a charity or something and we should do it live. That would be fun.
Yeah, because both of us wear like little GoPros.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
go about our day.
Right. That could be entertaining. We got to get our base up before we
Yeah.
do that. We want to actually be able to raise money if we do something like that. Um, but yeah, I don't remember what got us off on Star
Uh,
Wars.
Good and evil.
Good and evil.
Because you asked for my opinion on you know religious karma as I had
Uh-huh.
previously described, and that led us to Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
And then I brought it to good and evil, which was brought from Star Wars and balance.
Right.
And that's what almost led me to a Star Wars discussion. But
Yeah, it's easy to do. I mean, because Star Wars has become America's mythology.
right, and I guess what I had sort of thought of for this podcast topic as well was there was going to be a lot of like personal testimony,
Yeah.
which we have pretty much done as well. And I'm
Uh-huh.
sure we both have more
Oh
because
yeah.
karma is sort of a personal thing over here in the West where
Right, right.
like I don't personally feel that I've received back all the good I've done.
Right. And sometimes it's delayed and you get it all back like with youth ministry where I spent 8 years reminding myself no good deed goes unpunished. Brace yourself for what comes if you do this. And then later I found myself just surrounded by unconditional love. Like all the unconditional love I put out there was back and just more powerful than what I had put out. It wasn't just one person's unconditional love. It was a family of unconditional love.
See,
But it was delayed.
absolutely, absolutely. Like what it's done to me though is that I tend to not go out of my way to do good deeds as often anymore. Like I've been burned way too many times
Right.
to where it's like I don't necessarily put out bad energy,
Right.
but I'm not going out of my way to be some bleeding heart that just feels for everybody and everyone and will, lay on a grenade for a stranger
Right.
and all of that. In this day and age, like if there's a shooting, I'm using your dead body to hide myself. Like I have
Right.
like there's hell, I might use you as a shield on my way out. Like me or you, and I choose me. And like
Yeah.
unless the situation really is in my hands, I'm not gonna go tackle a gunman. I'm not gonna do any of that. It's
Well, so how do you think that might come back to bite you? If it did, if it came back to bite you, what would that look like?
there could be, if I did survive, other survivors could publicly shame me
Right.
on social outlets. If I ever like made a name for myself and we're in that sort of situation, I'd get canceled
Right.
over, those sorts of actions, like,
Yeah.
tripping somebody so that the lion gets them
Right.
instead of me.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that happening. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Sure. As far as more abstract things, I can't really imagine.
Yeah.
Like, I can only think of the literal, which would
Yeah.
be public outcry for me to die in a hole somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, those are natural consequences. And then, if you are in a situation where someone can either stick their neck out to help you or leave you to be eaten by lions, they're far more likely to leave you to be eaten by lions if that's what you've done to other people. And they know that. It's like, why would I risk my life to help this guy? So you kind of bring that upon yourself potentially by being seen to not care about people and to use them as shields and such.
If I ended up in 2 mass shootings, I think I've already received the karma.
Right.
Like, if I ended up getting chased by lions twice in my life,
good point.
Then somebody better help me out, because I've already received my punishment just by being here for a second time.
That's taking the illustration very literally. Like, yes. Yeah. Why am I being chased by lions twice?
Twice.
Maybe you live in the jungle. I don't know.
A Seinfeld baseline.
I like it.
But yeah, so if I were ever in those types of situations, yeah, it's definitely going to be me or them. But I don't, go out of my way to be a cruel person in my day-to-day life.
Right.
But I'm also not going to, I'm not going to keep cash on me to give to homeless people.
Right.
Although that is it's actually a dating tip, by the way.
Is it?
For a dude to keep cash while you're out on the town to give to homeless people.
Oh, okay.
But it's also
motives are a little bit questionable. But
no, and the motives are actually safety based.
Oh, I see. No, I see that. Okay.
You keep the cash in your pocket and your wallet in your other pocket. That way, if you get approached in some back alley by some questionable denizen of the town you're in, then instead of pulling out your wallet with all of your valuables in it, you can just pull out a $5 bill from your pocket.
Right.
But it does look altruistic, but it's actually it's actually a safety measure.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to do that just in my day to day. I'm not going to keep cash on me just for
Uh-huh.
the sole intent. I'm not going to go out looking
Right.
for that.
Same. Same.
Occasionally I make donations, but most of the time those donations come with perks.
Uh-huh.
I'm not just actively donating.
Yeah.
Like when I donated to the DSO of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
I liked the charity, and it came with perks.
Yeah.
And I get discounts and stuff like that. I'm like, well, cool.
Cool.
I help them, they help me.
Uh-huh.
I can write it off on my taxes.
True.
Not that it was an exorbitant amount enough to actually merit
Yeah.
writing it on my taxes.
Right.
I don't even know how that works.
I don't either. I've never been able to write anything off of my taxes.
Nope. Standard deductible for me.
Yeah. The only writing in my taxes that go together is a check.
Oh,
I
man,
write a
getting my
check.
taxes is so easy. Just W-2. You can scan that bitch right in nowadays. And it does it all for you. And you just click
Yeah.
yes, no, 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 yes, no, no, no. And you're done. And then, of course, I still always procrastinate to like the last day to
Yeah,
return.
same. Sometimes even like my mother would file an extension every year.
Oh my
Every
God.
year. Like just so she didn't have to do the taxes until like
Jesus.
October. I'm
Oh my
like,
God,
well, that's one
October.
way to do it, but then you still have to do it. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm a fan of getting things you don't want to do over with if you can. Just get it done, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
I'm a big fan of putting off everything until the last minute. So I don't want to think about it.
Right. Oh well.
Like
Both have
yeah.
their merits, I suppose.
But yeah, to my point is that I don't tend to get any. I feel like I don't get any karma nowadays.
Right.
Because I'd rather, maybe it's like I don't want to take the risk.
Right. You strive for neutrality because you don't want to, you don't want your good deeds to be punished. You
Right.
don't, yeah, you don't want
I
to
don't
get
want
your
to
hands dirty.
yeah, I don't want, and I don't want to get a sense of deserving.
Uh-huh.
Like if I haven't done anything good and something bad happens to me, then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, it's just one of those things that
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And then
Bad
something
things
good
happen.
happens to me, I'm just like, cool,
Uh-huh.
sweet, wasn't expecting that.
Right. Right.
Whereas if
Well,
I was just an incredibly altruistic person and then bad things kept happening to me, I'd be like,
yeah.
what's the freaking point?
Right. Right. Yeah, and I can relate to that too. Bad year last year. Well, difficult year. Probably good in the long run. I'll look back at that year and see how much I gained from coming through it. But it is just randomly bad things happen. And could that be something too, where like just you're going to go through life and good things are going to happen to you and bad things are going to happen to you. And you're going to do good things and you're going to do bad things. And it's easy to attribute agency to the cosmos. Like this good thing is happening to me because I did this good thing 3 years ago. This bad thing is happening to me because I did this bad thing 6 months ago. When really it's just you did a good thing, you did a bad thing, a good thing happened to you, a bad thing happened to you, and it's all just part of the journey. That's going to happen no matter what. No matter what. Like good things are going to happen to you, bad things are going to
Right.
happen to you. Regardless, you can be neutral your whole life. Good things are going to happen to you, bad things are going to happen to you. You've done nothing to earn either outcome.
Right. Correlation is not causation.
Right, exactly.
And yeah, no, and I totally agree with that. Like that's what I was saying a little while ago is like if you ask me to give you the more abstract things on what do you think could happen to you if you do this,
Yeah.
I can't. There's just
Uh-huh.
no way because I won't attribute that. Just like you losing your house, you can't attribute that to something
Right.
else says something terrible you did in your
Right.
20s.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's just not,
Yeah,
it
that
doesn't
was
make any
not,
sense to do that. It was not the
yeah,
cosmos coming after you for the bad
right.
thing you did.
Exactly. It was just an
And
unfortunate series of bad things that happened that, yeah, had no
so,
control over.
yeah, we touched on it a little bit. I guess I believe more in instant karma.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Right.
like sort of what we've mentioned as our soul, like our primary definition, where it's just like you give kindness, you get kindness,
Uh-huh.
you give cruelty, you get cruelty.
Yeah.
Those make sense to me because those
Uh-huh.
can be seen happening with your own eyes. Like, basically you make friends with someone, they're friendly. You make
Right.
enemies with someone, they're unfriendly.
Right.
And it's sort of like it makes sense, you know. Now I do enjoy seeing like videos of instant karma,
Right. It's
you know.
cathartic.
It's cathartic, yeah. Like a dude trips a blind guy, and the blind guy, accidentally pushes him in front of a bus as he's trying to catch himself or something.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
that's always fun to see. You
Yeah.
know, or a guy, there was this one where this guy modified a bike to where whenever you sat down on the seat was actually spring action,
Yeah.
and the pole of the seat would come up through the through the seat as soon as you sat on the seat. So you
Uh-huh.
basically get sodomized as soon as you sit on this bike.
That's like my old office
And
chair.
right, and he would leave this bike out, and people would try to steal it.
Uh-huh.
And it was and it was
Instant karma.
and it was very funny to me. It was quite humorous to see these grown men try to get on this bike, and then
And it rapes
have
them. Just
an awakening
uh-huh.
right there on the street. And
uh,
so I
that's
enjoy
pretty
that sort
great.
of instant karma. Yeah, don't steal.
Yeah.
To me, I'd be like, whose freaking bike is that? What kind of sicko is riding that thing around? But yeah, don't steal.
Right.
Otherwise, you get a pole up the ass.
Right. Or like, I enjoy when sport hunters get eaten by lions personally,
Right,
but
right, yeah. I love hearing those
I
stories.
do too.
It makes me feel giddy inside.
Right.
So I'm just like, well, shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Or
I mean,
like,
because
dog fighter people get like ripped apart by their own dogs.
right.
Like,
Right. Because
cool.
from our perspective, they deserved that. They
Oh
earned
yeah,
it. The universe
sure.
paid them
Yeah,
back. But, in reality, lions are clever. Lions can be scary clever. Um, and dogs too. Like dogs know when you're not their friend. Dogs know when you're the reason their life sucks.
yep.
um, yeah, like
Like Steve Irwin. What did Steve Irwin ever do?
right, he didn't do
You
anything
know?
wrong as far as we know. He wasn't abusive to animals. He still got killed by one because
Yeah,
bad things are going to happen to you, whether you do
yeah.
bad things or not. No one is immune to bad things happening. It's part of our journey. It's part of, how I see life is a school. We're here to learn. And as long as we're learning, we're not really doing anything wrong. Like when you put I hate you in that kid's Valentine bag or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you learned from that experience.
Instantly.
So, and that means, to me, that means you're okay. You did a
Right.
bad thing, but you didn't realize how bad it was until you got the gift of being able to experience those consequences, um,
Right.
and learned and grew from it. And I think that's what we're here to do. And that's why I think, nobody is immune to bad things. That kid, what did he do? All he did was go around telling people he loved them. And for that, he got 2 notes that said, I hate you. He didn't earn that, but it still happened to him, because that's that was a lesson for him too, perhaps. You can spread all the love in the world, but those seeds aren't going to take everywhere. You're not always throwing them into good soil. And not to say that you're bad soil, you were another kid who was learning. But, it's you can learn from bad things happening. Whether you earn the bad thing or not. I think it's just part of being a creature in the world. Baby birds get eaten by alligators. What did they do to deserve that? Nothing.
Right.
They're innocent. So like babies are born with horrible birth defects. What did they do to deserve that? Nothing.
People are born in general. And what did I do to deserve
Yeah,
this?
what did
Now
you
I
do
have
to
pay
deserve
bills
it?
for the rest of my life?
Right.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah,
Now I
true.
have to eat and work and sleep and pay bills. And,
Uh-huh. But you get to watch some cool movies. Like, I don't know.
yeah, so, yeah.
Play some
Sometimes,
cool video games. I
yeah.
don't know.
Maybe one day I'll go to like Italy or
And
something.
root beer's good. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
guess I'm glad I'm here.
Sparkling
Right.
lime water. Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. At this point, pretty much.
Right.
Maybe one day I'll buy some new contacts.
Maybe. But I doubt it. You'll be wearing those when you're 97 years old. Maybe. It's funny because you froze. Your image froze and you're just sitting there like,
yeah, you did too.
oh, did I?
Yeah.
I think it records on my end. So if I don't freeze up over where I see it, it's what I see that gets recorded, which is nice for me.
That's good for you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. It's because I do good things. So the universe is paying me back. Sometimes, rarely. Yeah. But I mean, that's pretty much all my thoughts on the topic.
Likewise. I just had one other thing that I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
Just a fun little offshoot.
Ooh, I do like fun.
Here at the end. You mentioned unconditional love a little while back.
Yeah.
And I was going to like interject and be like, yeah, except I don't really believe in anything such as unconditional love. We've had that conversation
we
before,
have.
you and I.
Yeah.
And I was like, that could be a podcast topic. But I was like, that would
really
probably
could
be a very short podcast topic, is
right.
what I was thinking.
Because there's not that much to say on it. Because is there unconditional love or isn't there? Like, I think my take on it is trying to model unconditional love. It's a continuous effort. It's not something like, because I agree with you. I don't think you can really attain unconditional love unless you're maybe a golden retriever. But humans have a hard time with that. Like, there's something somewhere that someone can do who you love so much that you can't forgive them for.
Right.
You maybe can't anticipate it. Perhaps you perceive your love for someone as unconditional. But, if they murder your kid.
Right.
I mean, and you didn't see it coming.
Study. Yeah.
Right. Let's
test the limits of unconditional love.
For science.
For science, yeah.
Murdering people's kids. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bad thing. Don't do that for science, listeners.
I think the closest that it can get is probably mother to child.
Right. And that's even it depends on the mother and child.
Right. But I still feel like it's the closest that you can get to unconditional.
Yeah, because, a mother's love.
A mother's love. Yeah, like, even if not child to mother.
Right.
Specifically mother to child.
Yeah.
So like, the mother could be, incredibly abusive.
Uh-huh.
And then, incredibly terrible to their child.
Yeah.
But then, spur of the moment comes and they could potentially save their child, just drawing out a
Yeah,
really dramatic scenario. Um, or, the
like
more
Darth
common,
Vader going back to Star Wars.
right,
Well,
yeah,
but he's not a mother, but still, it's a parent.
right.
But a mother, I
Mother
think,
is
is
bigger to me.
I
Yeah,
agree because a mother
you
grows
more
a
than,
child in her
yeah,
body for not carries them for 9 months, nurses them. Like there's that you'd have to feel an incredible bond with any being you do that for, who you bring into the world and nurture and
right.
you know teach them everything.
And then the more common example would be like the mothers of like violent criminals,
Right. Yeah.
like they can admonish their child and know that they deserve
Hmm.
retribution, but at the end of the day, that's still their child.
Right.
And
That mass murderer is her baby.
right, and that is as close to unconditional as I feel
Right.
we can get.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
I think you may be onto something there.
yeah, and it's a literal. I do that all the time. I'm always looking at phrases and taking them literally, and then dissecting
Yeah,
them,
turn them
disagreeing
around.
with them, and then people are like, okay, well, you know what I mean. Like when you say unconditional, what you really mean is like, overflowing, or
Hmm.
just immense.
Or just
And
yeah, for me it's like a love where you are allowed to make epic mistakes and
right,
you have me still. Like that
right,
was always my goal in youth ministry.
right.
But yeah,
And that's, I mean, that's
it's
because,
imperfect. It's not
right,
perfect.
because we're not perfect. And that's
Exactly.
why most of the time unconditional love is often tied to a God's love for
Right, because something
people.
would have to be transcendent of this reality to be actually capable of pure unconditional love.
Right, because there's nothing I could do to God. Like,
Right, right,
there is no contingency for, like, I mean, hell, we murdered his son.
right.
Like,
According to the Christian
yeah,
tradition.
yeah, we stuck him on a cross and stabbed him and whipped him and
Uh-huh.
bled him for days.
Right,
And
right, right. And he died 3 days later. He's like, anyway,
anyway,
moving on. I
just
got
kidding.
better. I feel happy. I just
Just but a flesh wound.
yeah. Um, yeah, right, true. Like that's why, yeah, stories of unconditional love usually do involve the divine. And it depends on
Right.
the divinity. I don't think there was any unconditional love going on in like Greek mythology, say,
No,
or
no.
Egyptian mythology, or
It was worship me or
even
die.
yeah, even Old Testament God.
Worship
Definitely,
me or
yeah,
die.
no unconditional love there.
I will strike you down.
Right. So, I mean, to me, unconditional love is goals. It's like a goal to always be working towards. You will never achieve it. But if you never stop striving for it, you'll never stop getting better. You'll never stop getting
You'll
closer to
slowly
it.
remove more and more conditions. Like, love always starts
Right.
off conditional, but you'll sort of shed yourself of the smaller conditions over
Right.
time, if you
Right.
can or care to.
Exactly. If you care to.
Right. Because, like when you're talking about like marital love,
Hmm.
and like there's so many conditions,
Right.
hence prenups.
Right,
Like,
exactly. Like if you have a prenup, you don't have unconditional love, but you are a very wise person.
absolutely
Like
get
you
a
are
prenup. Like,
prepared for the worst.
if you have assets,
Uh-huh.
get a prenup. If you don't
Right.
have any assets, there's no point in a prenup in the first
Yeah,
place.
truth.
Like several of the people I know that have gotten married, it's like, well, they were just some damn kids anyway with nothing to their names on Honda Civic.
Right.
Like, which probably won't last the marriage anyway.
Hmm.
And so, if you build an estate together, a prenup won't save you from any of that.
Right. Yeah, you're still gonna have to split that if
Right.
you get a divorce. So don't rush into marriage. That's
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it. You don't have to get married, kids. It's
Don't
all
have
good.
to.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You can be engaged for 10 years before you get married.
Right, you can. You can do basically whatever you want with your life.
Yeah. Isn't it fun calling them your fiance? Just do it for a
Right.
little while and
It's such a fancy word, you know?
it's such a fancy word. And yeah. And I guess that, unconditional love does play into karma as
Uh-huh.
well. I thought it was going to be more of an offshoot, but based on our discussion, it is sort of a get what you give kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And, it is I guess one thing we didn't touch on too was like just the concept of altruism,
Uh-huh.
which is sort of part of the school of thought of Western karma,
Right.
which is always, you should always strive to just be a beacon of altruism,
Right.
but nobody does. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was my final thought. Is I just want to touch on that because it sort of fits into the
Yeah.
topic and it's not worth its own topic.
Right, it's not. At least not yet. Not as far as we can see. We may change our
We could
mind
do
later
we could
on.
yeah we could do love as a topic.
We could.
Just the
That would
the
be a
the
good one. Are you writing
yeah,
this
there you go.
down?
I'm writing
Because
it down. Yeah, there it goes. Writing it
love is a
down.
good one. Like just we can go on and on
Uh,
that topic.
call the topic the abstract of love.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I love that idea. All right, bad puns aside. Uh, I've said my closing piece.
Yeah, I think I've pretty much said mine as well.
Let's see. So just to wrap it up, next week we're
Death
back with
penalty?
the death penalty, and that one's going to be a fun one. I'm gonna have to do some research on that one, see where it's still legal, where it's under legislation,
Right.
um, and see where it's been banned. Maybe take a
Yeah.
global look.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot we can unpack with the death penalty. I'm looking forward to that one. Well, I look forward to every one, honestly.
Oh yeah,
I love doing this.
yeah. I always learn a little bit about myself.
Right, exactly.
This is
You know,
our this
like
is our therapy.
it is. And like last week, I feel like both of us were surprised by the conclusions we came to last week
Oh
with
yeah,
the is religion good or bad? Like if you listen to the first few minutes of that podcast or first
we're
several
just
minutes,
ripping into religion.
yeah, by the end of it, we're like, you know what? Religion really is far more good than bad. We were both
Right.
surprised by coming to that conclusion. But that's the beauty of discussing things and just picking them apart and turning a topic over and looking at it from every angle. Um, yeah, and that's what we do at on Autodidactica. We take a topic and we turn it around, look at it from every angle, pick it apart, put it back together, see how it works. It's good
Yep,
stuff.
I agree. Are we gonna plug stuff?
Oh, I guess you can plug stuff. You want to plug
Yeah,
stuff? You want me to plug stuff?
sure. I'll plug the things you normally plug, for me at least.
Okay.
Uh, the only thing I do outside of this of public noteworthiness would probably be I do have a band, more or less. My
Mhm.
Perfect End. Everywhere you listen to music, um, got some songs out, and it's a good time. So you can check me out there. And then Glenn has a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
an author. He's got a couple books.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you can find my writing. You can find everything at my author website, glensladeclarkjr.com. There's links to all of my books, all of my short fiction, my other YouTube channel. If you're watching Autodidactica on YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel that's just me being a narcissist.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. It's fun.
Featuring me sometimes.
Yeah, so often.
Also a
Yeah.
narcissist.
Also a narcissist, like a proud narcissist.
Yeah.
So I mean there's that. And what else do I do? I feel like there's and if you want to check out older episodes of Autodidactica, I've got links to every episode on my author website as well. Yeah, so that's me. I'm plugged. You're plugged. We got
I don't like
plugged.
this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we got plugged. You heard it here first.
well, we plugged ourselves. Like you plugged yourself, then
All
I
right,
plugged
enough.
myself.
Enough. This has been a Metal-Star Galactica bringing you another
Usually I
episode
plug us
of
both. I mean,
Autodidactica, where we plug ourselves live on the air.
and sometimes each other. Like there's a lot of plugging go at the end. If you stick to the end, you get to see all the plugging.
Yeah.
Going
So
on.
congrats, you made it this far. Please email us. Let us know how disgusted you are with our choices.
Our poor life choices.
Yeah. Let us know what sort of bad karma we've got coming.
Right. Our email, by the way, is autodidacticapodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. So let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and until next week where we talk about the death penalty. See you later.
Yup. Have a good one.